Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for you to be here with me today. If you want to see this full face, go ahead and check out my previous video using all LA Girl products. Now, let's go ahead, wash this makeup off, and put on a brand new face. Hello everybody, welcome to the next brand new face video. I am so excited for you guys to be here with me today. I believe this is our second video that is kind of in our 100 and over price category. So that's super awesome, that is super exciting. So let's go ahead and introduce the brand here. So this brand is called Juvias. Yes, I am so excited for this brand. I've never used any of these products before. I think they're a fairly newer brand. I'm not too sure though. We don't have quite a full face of products here. We don't have a mascara. I don't believe they have mascaras or bronzers or setting spray. And then one product I wasn't able to get was a eyeliner. They were just sold out of that one. So it does exist, but we won't be using it today. But other than that, we've got 8 products here in front of us. Before we jumped into the look here, I wanted to take a look at their website and just kind of see what inspired this brand. And so I've got it pulled up here, just kind of reading it off their website here. It says, Juvia's Palace was created to celebrate the rebels, rulers and queens of the African kingdoms long ago, who emulated and honored beauty through their soulful and innovative techniques that top the beauty gurus still today. And then a little bit further down here, it says that Juvia's palette offers the richest, most vibrant pigments essentials for the eyes, face, lips to take you from the office to the Caribbean islands and everywhere in between. So I thought that was a really cool thing to just kind of look into the brand here a little bit first and kind of see what they kind of put down for themselves and how this brand was inspired and created and things like that. So I think that's really cool and really exciting. So I'm happy to get these products on my face. It sounds like we're expecting some high pigments with some of the powders and things like that, and hopefully some really nice coverage with our foundations and concealers. So let's go ahead and open up the concealer so we can start with the eyes. And what we have here is the I Am Magic Concealer. Looks like this. And the shade I got was in the shade 23. I think that was one of their lightest shades. I don't think it's quite the lightest, but one of their lightest shades. Packaging looks beautiful. I like this kind of like sort of salmon type of orangey pink color, or coral. I guess it's more coral kind of pink here. It's beautiful. So let's open this up. Ooh, and we've got that good old big doe foot applicator. Very exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and dab a little bit of this on my eyes, and we will just use a dampened e.l.f. blender to blend everything out. So we've got that concealer blended out on the eyes here, and I think for the most part so far, it's sitting on there very nicely. Dries down here pretty fast. It still feels a little bit wet, I guess, but it's not tacky or anything like that. Seems to be covering up veins and kind of evening out the eyelids here for our shadows very nicely. So that's awesome. So I'm going to put the lid on that guy and introduce the eyeshadow palette. And I looked at these a little bit here, and I might also incorporate a little bit of the blush colors as well, kind of bouncing between the two. But let's first introduce the eyeshadow palette so you guys can see it here. This is the Juvia's Palace, the Warrior 2 by Juvia's. Clean that up. It looks like this. I think they have maybe 3, possibly 4 eyeshadow palettes. I think I just kind of picked this one at random, but we've got a lot of really deep, warm tones in here. It's a completely matte palette. I really like this like bold, deep red over here. So here's that, and I'm going to go ahead and also show you the blush at this moment too. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do here yet, but I just have a feeling I might want to bounce between the two of them. But this is the Saharan Blush Volume 2 palette, and this looks like that. I just really like this deep purple. I think that could look really good on the eyes. There's also this beautiful like deep kind of maybe berry shimmery shade that could look really pretty on the eyes as well. So we've got a lot of mattes going on in the palette, and maybe we could pop in here to use that shimmer or even this lighter shimmer down here as well. I'm not sure if that's considered to be a highlight. We do have a separate highlight. Let's just go ahead. I'm gonna open these up both in front of me here. I think we're gonna grab our good old M433 brush, and I'm gonna start in this shade over here called, I'm probably gonna mispronounce a couple of these, Dara. And I'm going to apply this into our crease as like our transition shade. So we've got that first shade applied and it has pigment. That is correct. The website is correct. Yeah, I only really had to dip in 2 or 3 times to get this amount of pigment, and I think that is amazing. So I'm really liking that first shade here so far. Let's go ahead and deepen things up a little bit. Let's take the shade here called Yodit and deepen up that crease just a little bit using the same brush. I went pretty light with that one, so I'm not sure how well you'll see it here. I just wanted to add a little bit of depth. We can always go back and deepen that up a little bit more here as we complete the eye. I think I'm gonna hop into the blush palette real quick here, and I want to use a little bit of this red. I think a lot of that will get covered up, but I just want to grab a little bit of that on that same M433 brush, dip on in, and kind of just fill out this outer third of the eye a little bit, just so there is some shadow there. But I do think we're going to get some more purple on here, but I just want something there. All right, and then next what I want to do is I want to grab a skinnier brush. We'll grab the ColourPop E20 brush, and then I'm going to dip in this like plum kind of purple shade down here called B, and I'm going to use that against the waterline kind of as like a smoky shadow purple liner. I'm going to bring my mirror closer here. So I've applied that purple B shade kind of as like a smoky liner. I'm not sure how well you'll see that. It is a little bit softer, probably because it's intended to be a blush for the face. It is in their blush palette, but I still think it adds a nice little dimension to the eye here. I'm just not sure how much the camera will pick that up, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and now try this shade here in the middle called Sola. And I'm going to grab my finger here and just kind of apply that all over the eyelid now. All right, and then we're just going to touch things up real quick. I'm going to grab, going back into the eyeshadow palette, taking that brown Yodit shade and deepening things up on the outer corner here. And then I'm also, because that purple didn't show up too much and we don't have a mascara, I am going to go into, I think we're going to keep it soft and use kind of this dark charcoal gray color here called Welzana right there. So I will do that quickly. So there are the eyeshadows. We're going to go ahead and take a wipe here and then just clean up the edges. All right, so we'll try to come in close here so you guys can kind of see what those shadow and blushes are looking like here on the eyes. I think that's a nice, fun, very quick look here. Again, like the first shade that we used was very pigmented. And I think everything else over top is laying down nicely and everything is blending together nicely. So this is where the eyes are going to sit here for now. Again, we don't have the eyeliner. They do have one. It's just sold out. And I don't believe they currently have a mascara. So let's go ahead and move on to the face. So the next thing we're going to do is foundation. They also don't have a primer. So this foundation here is called the I Am Magic Velvety Matte Foundation. And I believe probably over a year here now ago, I think this foundation was kind of hyped. I don't know, this might be a fairly newer thing for them. And I think I remember people enjoying it, but I'm not really sure. It's been quite some time. Again, I've never used this brand before, but I think I remember this kind of popping up on my social media for a while. But here's what that looks like. The shade I got was, I believe, 710 in Mariko, I believe. So let's go ahead, open this. I might need to break a seal. Yep, there we go. Squirt a little bit on the back of the hand here. Got a somewhat thicker consistency. And then again, we're gonna take the e.l.f. blender. I'm probably gonna add a little bit more here. I just kind of wanted to see what that looked like. And it's the only one I got, so it's gonna have to work for a shade. And I think that's gonna be pretty good. So I'm gonna start with what's on my hand here. I'll probably have to go in and add more, but let's apply this all over the face. Okay, so we've got that foundation applied. It's got some really good coverage. I definitely have a stubborn guy here that I don't think much can cover. I'm gonna try and focus a little bit more on him. But like on initial application, like there, you can't even see him, but as you blend it out, he'll probably start to show up a little bit more here again. There he is, yeah. Yeah, coverage is really nice on this. That is amazing. The one thing about it, it doesn't necessarily feel heavy, but it also doesn't necessarily feel like it's sinking into the skin. It kind of like looks like it's just sitting on top of the skin, if that makes sense. It could also just be right now the condition that my face is in. It's kind of been breaking out a little bit, so things just might not be sitting the best on my face here. But I'm not mad at the way it's sitting on the face here. I just kind of want to point it out, and I'm very, very happy with the coverage that it has. It said it's kind of a velvety matte foundation. Yeah, I agree with that. I like the coverage and I like the finish of it. I think that looks really, really nice. So I'm gonna wipe off the excess that's on my hand here. I ended up squirting a little bit more, and like a little bit definitely goes a long way with this stuff. So, all right, so then let's go ahead and grab that concealer again. We'll go ahead and conceal under the eyes here and maybe try to do a little bit of spot concealing here as well. I'm going a little light on the concealer. I kind of noticed when I had it on my eyes, when I applied it, I kind of went around the eye. As I was applying eyeshadows, I saw it creasing there a little bit, so I'm gonna go a little lighter with it to try and avoid that. And hopefully when we set it down, that won't happen. Definitely don't want it to look creasy under the eyes here, so I'm just gonna go a little lighter with it because I noticed that when we're doing our eyeshadows. Take a little here, just for brightening, and over this stubborn guy. Maybe we'll just let that sit for a little bit. I'll kind of softly blend it. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and introduce the setting powder. This is the Juvia's Place I Am Magic setting powder, and I believe they have a couple shades in this one as well. And I went with the one that is white sand. I don't know if it's necessarily a translucent or if there's like a shade range. It's a tinted one. They don't necessarily have a translucent, so I went with their lightest option for this. So it might have a little bit of a tint to it. Typically, I do try to go for something translucent that won't affect the color underneath, just to keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and open it up here. And it's got a little sticky part here that I've just pre-opened a little bit, and we're gonna dump some of this into the lid. And we are gonna grab one of our Sonia brushes. Try to go very lightly. Again, I don't wanna mess too much with the color of her face. And let's just buff this all over. So the powder is applied. I'm gonna come close real quick just to kind of show you something that I noticed. And I don't know if this is the foundation or if it's just my face. There is like a spot right here by my lip that the powder really clinged to. Maybe I just didn't blend the foundation out well enough there, or if there's anything going on underneath my face here. And then I have this little breakout right here that I clinged to as well. So just wanted to point those out. The face feels really nice other than that, and I'm trying to even like fix this. Yeah, I think it's just dry skin underneath. I'm probably making it worse here right now, so there's another one. Yeah, I think the foundation, combination of the foundation, the state that my face is currently in, and maybe that powder, it is clinging a little bit to some of those more dry areas, but typically I get that happening like here, like under my eyes where things get really dry, and I'm not seeing that. I think it's just more on my trouble spots right now. Just want to point that out for you guys, but I think the face is looking really nice here so far. I'm really happy with how this is turning out so far. So what are we going to get into next? Let's finish up under the eyes here real quick. I'm going to grab our M433 brush. We'll probably keep it fairly simple. And I'm going to dip back into that Dora shade here again. And I will pinch the brush. We'll blend that underneath. And then let's deepen it up just a little bit. Let's go ahead and Jamalata right here. Let's grab that skinnier or that smaller ColourPop brush, the E20, kind of brush off the dark shade that we had on there. Let's use that on the outer part of the lower lash line. All right, and I think that's where we're gonna leave the eyes for now. Again, we don't have an eyeliner or mascara, so this is where things are gonna be. They also don't have brows. I think that would have been the next thing we would have done. So the brows are gonna stay natural here as well. I am gonna comb through them real quick with a spoolie, just to try and fluff them a little bit. If we wanted to, we could always try to take a shadow through there, but I think the ones in the current palettes I have might just be a little dark. But let's move on to the next thing here, which I think is the face. Now again, they didn't have a bronzer. These might be a little deep that are in the blush. Let's go ahead and try it. It might be a little bit deep, but in the blush palette here, they have this shade here called Yara. So let's just grab this guy here. This is a Laris LR375 flat powder brush. Let's just dip in to that guy. Try to do a soft bronze with him. I don't think it'll be too bad. I think it actually might look really nice with the shades on our eyes here. The bronzer is applied. I went pretty light with it. Honestly, it's pretty soft pigmented as well too. So I was worried about it being too deep, and it's really not bad at all. So kept it nice and soft. Hopefully you can see it there a little bit, but I do like how that's looking on the face here. So let's go ahead and choose a blush. I think I'm gonna use this same brush here. That's something I sometimes do. It's just not to bounce between a different brush for bronzer and blush. And partially because I think that this shade here might be very, very pink with whatever we have kind of existing here in the bronzer brush still. I think that might help kind of deepen that up a little bit so it's not too pink on the cheeks here. But let's take that shade here called Lena down here at the bottom and apply that to our cheeks. So there's the blush applied. Again, I'm not really sure how my camera will pick it up here, but it definitely is pigmented, had a lot of pink. I tried to go very subtle with it, and then I had to wipe my brush off here a little bit and then really blend it through. Now, I don't know if it's these powders, because they look very matte in the shade, or in the pan here, that bronzing shade and that blush shade that we used, or if it's something on the face here, or like the foundation, but there is definitely something that looks nice and kind of pearly right there. I don't know if you see that, but there is a little bit of a sheen going on the cheeks here. And I wonder if maybe these are just a slight sheen in there to kind of bring some light on the cheeks here. But I'm really liking how that's looking. Yeah, very excited about that. So let's set that palette down and that brush down and introduce the highlighter. So this is the Juvias Palace. I always say Palace. This is the Juvias Place The Tribe Highlighter Volume 3. Looks like this. So it's kind of a champagne-ish sort of pink shade. I guess not really pink. More just like a light gold sort of champagne kind of highlighter. So let's go ahead. Let's use a fan brush. We're going to grab the fan brush here, dip on into that, and apply this on the high points. And then I'm just going to take a little on my finger here and apply that in the inner corners. All right, the highlighter is applied and it definitely has a really nice shine to it. I like it. I like it a lot. I will say it's probably not going to be one of my favorite highlighters. It does kind of look more like it sits on top of the skin and on top of everything rather than really kind of like sinking in. I almost liked kind of that sheen that came from the blush a little bit more, honestly, than the highlighter, but it still is very, very beautiful. I think it looks really pretty in the inner corners of the eyes here. I like that a lot. I just kind of wanted to mention just kind of how I think it's sitting on my face here. Again, it's beautiful. So for the lips, we've got a lip liner. This is the Luxe Lip Liner, and I got the one in the shade Wine. I believe, if I remember correctly, they have maybe 2, possibly 4, I think it was maybe 4 shades of lip liners, and I think most of them were sold out. So I went with this Wine shade here. So we're gonna have a nice deep lip, but I think that'll look really nice with kind of the purple pinky eyes that we have going on. So opening it up, it's retractable. I'm gonna move my mirror closer here and let's apply. All right, the lips are applied. It's a little messy. It's definitely a very creamy consistency, but I do really like that shade, so I apologize. It's a little sloppy, but we'll work with it. That is all right. Here's that. I'm loving that deep shade. That is beautiful, and I like how it feels on the lips here. I was worried because my lips have been so dry lately, but it's laying over top of those really nicely. So let's grab the next lip product here. This is the Juvia's Place The Reds Velvet Matte Lipstick. All right, and opening that up. Oh, that's big. It's another like big doe foot applicator, kind of similar to the concealer. I've never seen that necessarily for a lip product. Might give me a disadvantage with my smaller lips here, but let's just go ahead and apply it. We'll probably just kind of apply it in the center and then just kind of blend it out that way. Maybe even grab a brush to move the product around a little bit more. So here are the lips. Again, things are a little messy. I would try to touch them up, but I think I would just make things worse. So here is that. I think that color is beautiful. I really like how the deep wine lip liner underneath and the brighter kind of red lip is kind of mending here together. It is very pretty. I really like that a lot. It is a little bit deeper, I think, than what our eyes are. I thought maybe that would match a little bit better, but these are very soft. These are a little bit more bold. I could maybe add a little bit more red to the eyes or a deeper blush here as well. But yeah, that's how everything is looking. And that is all of the products. As always, I'm really happy with how our face here is looking. It would be nice if we would have had a mascara just to really complete the eyes. But I do think these shadows are looking really nice there. So here's that full face. Now let's go ahead and get set up here to talk about the products individually. All right, we are all set up here. I've got the products all set out here so we can talk about them individually. Again, here is that full face. And before we talk about the products individually, let's figure out what our full face cost was. So for the 8 products here that I used today, this full face came out to be $107.50. Now for 8 products, that definitely is higher. As we saw in our previous video, we had a full face that was, I think, also around this. I think it was just a little over $100. So it is very interesting to see that, but even still with that, I'm really happy with the performance that a lot of these products had. So I think for some of the individual products, I definitely think that price point is worth it. But it is just so interesting to kind of see that where it's like we have 8 products and we are still matching up with some of those other more full face brands. So let's talk about the products here individually. The first product we dipped into was the concealer. I'm gonna say yes for now. It did crease a little bit just kind of as we were applying the shadows, but it doesn't seem to be creasing here anymore. I did go a lot lighter on it because I noticed that, and we did set that down, and things are looking really nice there under the eyes. So I think you just need a little bit. You don't need to go too heavy with this product. And I ended up putting it on this little trouble spot. It is kind of showing through here still. And I said I was going to go back and blend it out. I didn't. I just kind of left it that way. And it does have some very good coverage. Again, that one, there is a very stubborn spot for me right now, but that's okay. So yeah, I'm going to say yes for now. I think the coverage is really nice. I do want to kind of compare it to some of my other ones to see if creasing may end up being an issue if I do end up going a little heavy with it, but I'm really happy with the shade. I'm really happy with the performance here so far. So this guy is going to be a yes. And then we hopped into the eyes and we used a combination of the shadows and the blushes. So let's go ahead and talk about the eyeshadow palette here first. Now I got the Warrior 2 palette. This is a completely matte palette and I used 4 of the 9 shades in here. So I didn't get to get a feel for everything, but definitely that first shade there, Dara. Yeah, I could see myself reaching into this palette just for that shade specifically, but I also did really enjoy using this shade here as a kind of like a smoky liner. This guy worked very well, kind of deepening up the transition. So the pigment is definitely there with these shadows. So for that, it is a definite yes. I do typically enjoy a palette that has a combination of mattes and shimmers in it, but if you are somebody who likes to just create matte looks, I think you could really enjoy this palette. So I'm gonna say yes to this guy. And then for the blush palette, I'm also gonna say yes for now. I honestly might see myself with this specific one getting more use of it as a shadow palette versus a blush palette. I did really like that pink shade. It was just very pigmented. You had to go in very light-handed. It was very bright pink, and it's not necessarily a pink shade I go for very often. I think I would probably use it more on my eyes than on my cheeks here, but it still was very beautiful. That Sola shade on the eyes I think looks really, really pretty. I'll have to play around with it a little bit more for blushes and maybe using this bronzing shade. That did work really well. It was a little soft for bronzing, which is good. I thought it was going to be very intense, but I do see myself probably using this more as an eyeshadow, but I do also want to try using it a little bit on the face here as well. So this is going to be a yes for now. And then we hopped into the foundation, this guy right here. I'm also going to say yes. The coverage on this is very, very nice. I do want to point out it does seem to be more sitting on top of the face rather than like sinking into the skin, and maybe that's because it was applied directly to the face rather than there being a primer. Maybe it would apply a little bit better that way, but I love the coverage. I definitely love the coverage. It does have a little bit of creasing here. I'm very expressional with my forehead, so it is creasing up here a decent amount, but that is kind of a common thing that happens for me. But I do just want to point that out. I probably could have set it down a little bit better before being very expressional. But regardless, still, I'm really happy with the performance and the finish that it had. So this guy is also going to be a yes. And then we set everything down with the powder. I think I'm also gonna say yes. I'm not one who typically holds on to powders that are non-translucent, being that this one is a tinted one. That always worries me a little bit that it's gonna shift foundation underneath, but I do think that this did pair really well with the foundation. And I think it did a really good job of setting the face down with it not feeling dry. Now we did have a couple of those little interesting spots where it did cling to some of my dry spots. That's, I believe, is just the condition of my face right now. I don't think that's anything with any of the other products that we used, but I'm really happy with how it feels here on the face. I think it did help with setting our concealer down and making sure that that didn't crease under the eyes here. I think that played a part for sure. So I'm gonna say yes to the powder. And then let's talk about the highlighter. I think this is also gonna be another one that's like a yes for now. I did kind of mention a little bit as after I applied it. I do think I have other highlighters I enjoy just a little bit better. But again, I do still really like how it looks on the face here. I definitely enjoy how it looks in the inner corner, nice and brightening. I almost wonder if maybe it applies better if you kind of like dab it on with your fingers and then maybe blend it through with a brush rather than going in with a soft brush, or maybe even a different type of brush. We used a fan brush today. If we would have used maybe like our Sigma brush, maybe I would have liked that performance a little bit more. So it's gonna be a yes for now. I'll have to play with it a little bit more to kind of actually figure out what I think of it. And our last two products here for the lips, the first one was that lip liner. Also a yes, very creamy, moves around really nicely. It was a little messy for me. That's my own problem. I could have had a little bit more control of it, but I do really love the shade. I think it's beautiful. I kind of like having a couple of these like more wine shades. This might be like my second or third one that I have in my collection that I very much enjoy. So I'm excited to add to that. And then on top of that, we applied the lip product. And I don't know if I mentioned the shade I had. I had it in the shade Scarlet, which is this beautiful, deeper red, but a little bit lighter than the liner. So I really like the combination that they have. I think that looks really nice. This is also going to be a yes. I've kind of felt it over time here. I got it on my teeth. Oh no. I really like the combination that it had with the liner. I did notice as it was drying down here, it is a lot more of a matte consistency. But again, it's a little sticky still, and it doesn't feel too dry on the lips. So I really, really like that. The shade is beautiful. The pigment is beautiful. Sometimes with like these deeper reds, the pigment can be a little patchy. And with this, I don't think it's very patchy. I think the pigment is definitely there, as Juvias states on their website. So this guy is a yes. So that's all the products. We are currently saying yes to everything, and I think that's a first. So that is awesome. That is extremely exciting. I am so happy to have these products in my collection and continue to use them on a more regular basis and in combination with other products that I enjoy. So very, very excited about that. And I think that's going to be everything for this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, I hope you guys give it a big thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you want to see more of these videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you guys can be notified of the next time that I post. Next, if you guys have any of these Juvia Place products that you'd like to see put to a full wear test, you can leave that in the comments down below. And if there were any of these Juvia Place products that you did not see me use, you can leave that in the comments down below as well. I'd love to try and get my hands on it and test it out for you in a future video. And lastly, if you guys have any brand recommendations for any of these brand new face videos, you can leave that in the comments down below as well. And I would love to add it to the list of so many brands. That's gonna be everything for this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.